All right, and we are live for this episode of the Freedom Series with Darius. And we're going to speak all things values today, but not values as people typically talk about them when we talk about building culture, but values around how we can conceptualize them in a business for mass scale without the growing pains. Joined by Darius, who's a high growth CEO, serial entrepreneur, and culture builder, mad scientist who was ranked number 9 on the Glassdoor's list of top CEOs and small and medium companies in the US. He's led organizations that have won numerous Stevie Awards, been named number 3 best place to work by San Francisco Business Times, and has landed number 40 on the Inc. 500 list for fastest growing companies. Holy shit, dude. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. I'm pumped to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so stoked to have you here. And if you're joining us live, welcome. I highly recommend start a watch party because this episode is going to be super hot. My team's monitoring all the different chats around the different platforms. So if you have any questions throughout, please make sure you ask them and we'll make sure that myself or Darius can answer the questions. Mate, you've just recently exited a company and decided to write a book. And it wasn't a small company by any feat. Can you share a little bit about the journey with that particular business to start us off?
Yeah, I've been a high growth. I stumbled into being a high growth CEO. It wasn't like I said, man, I just want to do high growth business. I ended up doing it, and then I realized I loved it. And the last business was a business that I got into in 2013, and it was with myself and 3 other partners. And when we got there, there was about 30, 40, 50 employees, something like that. And it grew like wildfire. In 18 months, we grew it to 300 teammates. And the most interesting part of that journey was 18 months in, I looked back and I said, wow, how the hell did that happen? Like we literally had 0 growing pains. And I never, I've had lots of high growth before, but never where it grew that fast, that quickly to that size with literally no growing pains. And what I realized was we had created an environment where everyone there was kind of like speaking the same language, and I said, man, I'm onto something here. And what it did was it just reinforced this belief that I had that the values are way more than just like this cultural asset for the business, that they're really it's the foundation for every decision that I was going to make for growing the business. So yeah, it was a great ride. And then the following 18 months, we grew it from 300 to 1,000. And I'd be lying if I said there was no growing pains. I got crushed, but we learned from it and really just, it was a real quick recovery, but it was amazing, man. It was really cool.
Wow. That's incredible because, we meet a lot of smaller business owners, from 1 to maybe 50 staff members, and time and time again see growing pains. And I certainly can relate to what you share. It's why, chapter 3 of my new book, we talk about values, we talk about culture, nowhere near as depth as your book, which I'd love to touch on a bit later on as well. But it's funny you share that because I see values not just relate within business, but in every area of life and the way you interact with those around you, the people you attract in, your personal relationships, your employees and so forth. But I'd love to kind of understand, how have you guys taken it from this concept that I think many entrepreneurs actually don't take seriously enough is around building culture. And I think it was Peter Drucker that said that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And, I would agree with a similar statement because I honestly believe you can have the best strategy in the world, but if you yourself are not aligned to it and your team is not aligned to it, it's going to be very hard experience to get things up and moving, as opposed to if you have a team that's so bought into a common vision and common values, like magic just happens. But I guess what is it this that we're talking about when we say values?
Yeah. So my belief is that when we start talking values, there's two camps. You got one camp that's left brain, and they're like, what are they talking about? Like fluffy unicorn bullshit. And then you got the right brain, who's like, there's something here, there's some power, there's some words, there's something that's attracting me to what these people are talking about. And so I believe that most businesses, most leaders, especially when you start going higher up in these larger companies, and most of them are men, and men were like logic creatures. And like when you start going to the abstract, and there's a book that someone referred me to that I have not read yet called Sapiens that talks all about this, that the power's in the narrative. This is what I was told by another CEO in an entrepreneur's organization. The power's in the narrative. So that's where I think where values have been totally underestimated. It's this thing where it's a check on the box, like, hey, I got to build values for my business, or I should have values in my life. And I go the whole other direction, which is, what if you take values and design them exactly as you are meant to be, what really matters to you, and then hold yourself accountable to it and get really explicit about it. And then, as Peter Drucker says, you know, culture eats strategy for breakfast?
Yeah.
He also said, you know, if you can't measure it, you can't improve it, right? And so, but creating an asset that you start measuring yourself against, and then you start to really, what I say, operationalize them. And I'm not even talking about just in business. Do it in your life, in your business, in any organization. Whenever you're trying to get yourself or people aligned around a common vision, they say, there's a quote about values says, where there is a common vision, where there is no common vision, there is no vision of the future, right? So like, this is the common vision are the values. And that's where I look at that. I go, look, you just got to own that and be explicit about it, and don't be apologetic about it. And that's where everyone goes wrong, man. They start throwing these vanilla bullshit values around. And I go the other way, which is, dude, they don't need to be nice. You're a freaking toe-stepping badass, be a toe-stepping badass, you know, but own it.
Yeah, I remember doing a tour of Zappos, and there's one of their values. I can't remember what it is, but it's like no shit talk, or something like it was just like punch in the face, straight as it is. As you said, no bullshit, and they've got a phenomenal culture. I want to unpack this a little bit more, because growing a company from 30, 40 employees to 1,000 employees in a few short years and exiting is like no small feat for anybody. Before we do that, if you're watching this live, you're enjoying it so far, hit the like comment, hit the like button. Let us know any questions you got below, and let us know what you're loving the most out of this conversation. So, Darius, like, you entered a company with a couple of partners at 30, 40 employees. How do you go entering a company at that level where there's already some form of foundation establishment there, and grow it to 300 employees, and obviously significant multiplier in revenue and profits as well in a short period of time? Like, how do you enter, like, talk me through the journey of entering that and starting to install this process that we're talking about here with values?
Well, you know, and this is unusual. Most companies are going to go discover their values when they're 3, 4, 5 years in. Maybe they'll do it when they first start. When I got there, I had said, I designed the values before, and it was with a group of people I had already done business with. And so we had a sense of what we already were. But our partner that we were joining with didn't. So I was kind of introducing values into an organization, which is not always the most normal way of doing it.
Yeah.
But that was something where we could be aspirational about, this is what we are, even though we were just getting started. You're taking that and really immersing everyone in that as a starting point. We're going to immerse in values. We are going to really make this concrete and leverage it in our behavior. And then it's really just taking these common scale models. Like they're called entrepreneurial operating systems, EOS, scaling up, OKRs, whichever system you're using. For me at the time, I was using a scaling up system. So
well, it's just so ironic. Like, these episodes never planned this way, but last night's live stream was with one of our coaches here at the Game Changers, who's one of very few scaling up certified coaches as well. So we just touched on it. So yeah, please continue.
Yeah, so I got introduced to this concept by Vern Harnish. Like, this is how I learned about this. I did a program with him at MIT in 2006 to 2008, and I got turned on to this from Vern directly. Yes. So I was really lucky. Right place, right time, learned it, and then started practicing the scaling up model. But for me, people say, Darius, how'd you get into core values? I go, man, listen, I didn't find core values. Core values found me. Yeah. And so I started using that scaling up methodology, and that provides a nice system for mid-market growth framework. But sitting that on top of your core values and core purpose, which I had been introduced to Simon Sinek's work. We had our why. Our why was to grow happiness. Our core values, we had 4 of them. They were distinct. And we were living in that, in how we were talking about the business, but sitting on top of it was an execution scale model. And then all I did is, and this is the way I think you grow any business, get all that stuff right, get it fully aligned up, and then plug your product in, and away you go. It's all about consistency after that. And then it's just how fast can you grow it? And that's really what we did, because we weren't messing around with inconsistency. We weren't messing around with a lot of these growing pain issues that you get when alignment falls out of place. I just didn't have them until I had 300 people. Then I had them,
Yeah. And I feel that's where the problems start. Like often when we meet prospects, the problems that they're having or the problems they believe they're having are actually symptomatic of the real problem, the underlying problem that they haven't yet addressed. And I feel often they start asked about face. They start with product or they start with serving market before having, like you said, having a clear vision, the North Star of where they want to go. They start without having a clarity around values, because it's like, and I speak a lot about that in the first 3 chapters, vision, mission, values. It's like, why would I bother putting vision, mission, values in place when it doesn't bring me money in the door? And that's the kind of mindset. It's like, I can't see a tangible result for putting my vision, mission, values. So I'm going to go and build a funnel. I'm going to go and work on my sales process. Yet it's asked about face way of doing things. That's the difference between a company that will grow and get stuck and hit the glass ceiling at like $1 million or a couple $1 million versus one that can scale infinitely because they have that solid foundation in place, which is exactly what you're talking about right now.
Yeah, 100%. So in my book, what we're talking about is exactly what you're saying, which is people. This is left brain thinking. It's tangible to me. I can go build a sales model. I can go build a strategy model. I can go build an execution model. I get that. And I'm going to go crack the whip and get people to work. The problem with that is, what inputs are you putting into that? Am I putting the right person into that input?
Yeah.
Do they believe what I believe? Do they believe what the people around them believe? Or am I putting asshole guy over here next to harmonious guy over there versus, middle of the road guy? And when you mix those people together, they're going to be like, who the hell are you, man? You're not my tribe, right? So when you got people in the wrong tribe working together, I don't care how good your strategy model is. I don't care how good your sales model is. I don't care how good your execution model is. What you're doing is, you might be able to outwork your way into getting it to work, but I say that's a bad design. I want a bunch of people that are like finishing each other's sentences where there's ether in the room, right? I don't have to get a square peg into a round hole. I got a bunch of round holes. I got a bunch of round pegs, right? You go right in, and I'm done. I set it and forget it because I got people that are finishing each other's sentences. Now, it's not to say the other stuff's not important too. It is. But look, until we got robots doing each other's jobs, which may happen if Elon Musk has his way, I don't know, But until that happens and you got a bunch of people involved, I think that's actually where the pickup is. Because everything else is getting commoditized. Technology is getting commoditized. Speed to market's getting commoditized. Productization is being commoditized. The differentiating value proposition, in my opinion, it's the people and what are they doing to be cohesive with each other. Yeah.
And I think there is too, like there's a bit of an esoteric aspect of it too, is that when you have an organization where there's a really beautiful alignment, both energetically, but also through a values and a vision and mission aspect, the market feels that. I honestly believe that the market feels that they're attracted to it, and they wonder why these businesses seemingly pop up out of nowhere and do very, very well. But it all comes to alignment.
100%. And then the other side of that is, let's say you start hitting these different tiers of growth and you have that alignment. There's going to be people that, what I found at least, outside of the organization, who what you're doing will resonate with them in a way it's Maslow's self-actualization. It's that top part of the pyramid, right? So they're looking at that and they're like, I'm happy where I'm at, but what the hell are those guys doing over there? Yeah. And they start like, that's like where the law of attraction, where I had people coming into my organization that had no business working with us, but they did because they wanted to be a part of something greater than themselves. And this is the way we are as human beings, man. None of us, you, me, and probably everyone listening, none of us got into our industries because when we were 10, we said, man, I can't wait to be in the mortgage industry. None of us did that, It's just that none of us did it. And so, and guess what? None of our employees did either. Yes. So why not make it fun? Why not make it about something greater than ourselves? And I look at that, and I've been telling people right now, I'm like, look, we're in the middle of a down cycle. The down cycle is just beginning. And I am 1000% convinced. I'm so stoked that your book addresses this, as does mine. I'm 1000% convinced that the leaders of this next cycle are going to be mission, vision, value-based organizations. They're going to freaking crush everybody. Yeah. So I can't wait.
Dude, I'm the same. We're already seeing it. The last 6 months have been the hardest 6 months a lot of businesses faced for a long time. With everything that's gone on with the pandemic in Australia, we had a lot of bushfires that affected a lot of people, a lot of businesses and so forth. And it was interesting to see for us how our culture grew within an organization. And the belongingness. Like you talk about, Maslow's hierarchy of needs and so forth, like our core fundamental need as human beings is need to belong. And we have the need to belong because in belonging, we're safe. And this is driven from the critter neurology that we have as well. And so if we can nail that belonging piece within an organization with our team, we can nail the belonging piece within an organization within our community as well. And as I said, that's where we start to really, I guess, the law of attraction starts to come into place. We've got a couple of questions here. If you're joining live on multiple platforms, welcome. Loving the conversation so far, Darius, like absolutely amazing. Sam from Brisbane, what's your mindset when you have to make the best decision under pressure? How do you handle making the best decision under pressure?
Real simple. Because I believe that core values are the ultimate decision-making engine. When they're designed properly, it makes it where they answer the question for you. I've never been put in a position where the core values didn't tell me what to do. Now, I will put an asterisk next to that to say, half the time I'm like, shit, do I actually have to do that? And I do. It's half the time it's a decision I don't want to make, but I know what the right answer is. So when they're designed around authenticity and raw, like exactly what I know I'm here to do and why we're here to be as a business owner, then it's simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like I speak a lot about that. So I think it's in chapter 8 or something, I start talking about hiring and, bringing core values back into hiring. Like I'd rather hire someone who's an absolute, like perfect fit for our core values and is not quite there in the skill set than someone who's got an amazing skill set and their values are a bit out, because I know that skill set I can train. Values, it's a lot harder, if not impossible, to train someone to believe what you believe and to think what you think as well. And agree. It's like, it's not a matter of whether this teammate's doing the right thing or the wrong thing. It's like, is their attitude, is their behavior right now congruent with the values of the company?
Hey, how's that work if you only agree with them 4 out of 5 times, right? And it's not about agreeing like an echo chamber agreement. It's like here at ABC organization, we're all about like putting the team first and hard work. And he's like, I get the hard work part, but the putting the team first part, I'm only going to do that, when it's in my best interest. I don't care how good they are. Every time that happens, it erodes the trust in the organization.
Yeah.
So,
there's something I've noticed within our organization as well. It's like my team get excited and enjoy like the smallest little wins. Like we could just be talking like a new funnel going live or a new image being updated, like the smallest little things that might seem trivial for someone else. But what I see that is I see that we have a culture that's aligned to the vision, and they can see how every small little piece, every small little pebble that's laid is building momentum and moving us towards ultimate vision, because every single person's bought in. And you can always tell when someone's not. And usually the team handles that before you have to step in as a business owner to handle that as well.
Yeah, and I call that in my book, in chapter 5, we call that invisible scale, which is I don't want to have to sit there and look over people's shoulders. I want everyone else to look over each other's shoulders without even having to do it, right? Because the values have baked into everyone what the expectations are in the organization, and it's a tool. It's not Barry saying, hey, I'm going to, Barry doesn't want you doing that, or Darius doesn't want you doing that. It's like, look, man, we have a social contract here. Value number 1 is people matter. What you're doing is not people matter. You can't be here. What you're doing is not okay. And when there's that level of accountability, to your point, because that's not going to get us to our vision. Like in my organization that I just left, our vision was to get to 1 million, maintain and gain 1 million homeowners in the United States of America because of our business by the year 2025. I think we're up to like 400,000 now, right? But everyone sees that everything they're doing gets you there. And if they're doing things that detract from that, well, they're hurting the vision of the organization.
Yeah. And to that, touch on that past point you mentioned too, like, running an organization with 1,000 employees, you can't be over each other's shoulder. And that's what I've noticed too. Like when you start to build teams properly based upon vision, mission, and values, where you can build in such a way that it self-perpetuates. It's no longer has the pressure and rely upon you. And as you said too, like coming back to Sam's question around your mindset, make decisions. It's like decisions are made for you because the culture has such a strong resonance within the organization.
Yeah, and that's what you want. I don't want to police people's behavior. I don't want to have police in the organization. I want the organization to police itself. Yeah. Right. Just like and they want that. They don't want someone breathing over their shoulder. Like when in the world has anyone been like, man, I just can't wait till my manager's looking over my shoulder so I can work harder for the whole day. Nobody on earth has ever thought or said that. They're like, I can't wait till that guy's off my shoulder so I go back to screwing off because I don't believe in this thing, or I can't wait till this person's not looking over my shoulder so I can actually go back to doing real work. Yeah. So that doesn't work in my opinion.
I think too, no, totally agree. If you're loving the conversation, please start a watch party. I think more people need to see this. This is hot and I'm really enjoying the conversation. It's something that's close to my heart. I think too, you know, if we talk an organization, we talk culture, we talk self-perpetuating, you know, I don't know, dude. Like, I think there's a huge opportunity coming into, as you said, the back of the year. Like, we just started a downward trend. And I think companies that align like that, like, you know, for me, I think the ultimate is having an organization of entrepreneurs. You have entrepreneur aspects and attributes within an organization. You have employees that are empowered to make decisions. You have employees that are empowered, that they know how they sit within a framework, which is culture, which is values, which is vision, mission, that empowers them to make decisions without relying on their managers, their leaders, the CEO, because as long as they're making decisions based on their belief in what's best for the company, they're never going to be crucified for that.
Right. Yeah, I read this article a few years ago where it kind of went down the line of what is most important to people. And I think the number one was empowerment at a job. It was number one. Number 6 was income. Number 1 was empowerment. People want empowerment. They want to be able to feel safe, make decisions because they think it's the right thing to do, and then have growth because they're doing it and or learn.
Yeah.
And when we expect perfection, that's like, what? I don't want anyone expecting perfection from me. I used to tell my team that. I said, listen, man, because I'm such a core value-driven entrepreneur, I'm like, listen, values are not nirvana. This is not utopia. If you expect me to be perfect, you know, piss off. Like, it's not going to happen. I'm going to screw up too. We're going to screw up as an organization. But what matters is that I get back on the horse and try to make it real. I try to make that be the, like, that.
And I own my shit.
Yeah.
I own my shit.
Exactly.
I think that's the most important thing is that you as a leader, I touch on, there's an aspect of like goal setting in my book as well. And I touch on around integrity. I'd love your kind of take on it. Like, I honestly believe, mate, that if we're not showing up in life, living in integrity with our word, how can we ever set and achieve goals? Because if we're showing up letting others down, we're always going to let ourselves down before other people. And if we're showing up letting other people down, we're going to let ourselves down in terms of we set goals, we're never going to align to them. I show up to my team like all hanging out, completely vulnerable, own my shit, laugh myself when I make mistakes. But in that process, I'm consciously and unconsciously giving them permission to do the same thing. Totally. And that builds trust. Like, you look at the 5 dysfunctions of a team. Number 1, trust.
Yeah. Right.
Number 1, trust. And it's not that I can't trust you to keep a secret. It's like, you know, trust in an organization that I can be all of me. I can be all of who I am. We can have the hard conversations because we give a shit enough about the vision and the values of the company that if we're not having conflict, we're keeping stuff to ourselves.
Have you ever done any work around like mindset theory, where there's there's autocratic, authoritarian, strategic, and then there's pluralistic, right? And this is this, like, right? So it's the different colors: green, orange, red, or blue, red, and above all that's integral. It's yellow, right? So what we're talking about here is the higher parts of these colors, right? And this is I've been told it's called spirodynamics.
Yeah.
But mindset theory is how it was introduced to me. And so when you're at this upper end, vulnerability is like, if I can't be vulnerable, if I can't really be a human being too in front of you as a team, then how can I expect you to do that in front of me? So it's real simple, man. When we're like in like grade school, it's follow the leader.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Like I don't need to go anywhere else but that. It's just follow the leader.
Yeah.
You get what you give as a leader. If you don't want to give that, then don't expect it in return. And for me, I'm like, dude, I want people falling on the sword for me. And guess what? I'm going to do it for them in return. Yeah. So it's all good. This is the golden rule. I give what I give. I give what I get, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think that leaders are having, but there's a book from Collins, Good to Great, where he says, you know, essentially you have these 5 levels of leadership, right? Level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5. And right now we have level 3 leaders in a level 5 world. And I'm talking, you and I, we're talking level 5 leaders in a level 5 world. And I just think that this is the evolution of leadership that's happening. And I think private business is where it's starting, because it sure as hell I am in governments.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Dude, like this is what I've been saying nearly every episode. Like, I honestly believe that right now there's never been a better time to have your own business, to grow your own business, because I believe wholeheartedly that entrepreneurs are the future of the world, not the politicians, not the governments. Like, we have the ability to impact the world. And this is why I believe that more people should aim to do businesses that work without them, because until they get to that point, they've got a job. And this is exactly what we're talking about, like hiring the right people, empowering the right people, and building great companies. But you know, the spiral dynamics thing's an interesting thing. And I guess to speak to many people who may be on the conversation right now and be like, oh, this is all well and good, Barry, this all may be well and good, Darius, but you know, I can't pay my bills this week, so I'm not going to sit down and work out my culture. And it's like, I get that. but also understand that whatever problem you have right now, it's probably been a recurring problem for a long period of time, right? It's not a new problem. And so don't listen to me, don't listen to him, don't listen to either of us, but maybe just try it for yourself. Like try actually sitting down. If you haven't got this alive, if you haven't got culture, vision, mission, values alive, and I say alive, it's not just something on the wall that says your vision and your mission and your values. Like, I mean, it's living, it's breathing. Your organization thrives and survives off this culture, off this core values. Try it, test it out, right? It's not going to be something you can see a result overnight or a week. You know yourself, like you're not going to see a result in a week's time putting values in place. Like it's an ongoing practice and habit to get it come alive. But holy shit, will it transform the business?
Yeah, so you know, it's always fun to talk about people's success in business. You know, what is it? The success has many fathers, and failure is an orphan, right? And so, we talked about me being an Inc. 500 company, number 40 Inc. 500. What we didn't talk about was that when I showed up at that ceremony to get my award, that my company had gone from 150 people to 10 people in 90 days. 150 to 10 in 90 days. And the only reason it didn't go to zero was because the train went to the edge of the cliff and stopped. And I was like, oh shit, I'm still alive. And then I lived 3 years in entrepreneurial purgatory. And I'll tell you this is like to say what I feel about what you just said. When you are in survival mode, when you are really worried about what's going to happen the next day for your business, your IQ, they've done studies on this. When you're worried about money in your life, like really worried about it, your IQ drops almost 20 points, okay? You can't fix that. Right? But I can guarantee you those 20 points are not, the lack of those 20 points is not helping you to get out of that financial situation. Yeah. So to your point, what the hell do you have to lose? I look at it a little bit more simplistically, which is, why would I not live within my business values? Why would I not create a business that has a set of values that we adhere to, regardless of the financial situation of the business? Yeah. You give me a good reason why not to do that, and I'll sign up for it. I can't think of one. I can tell you this though, I can think of plenty why I wouldn't want to not have values. I can think of thousands of reasons why I would not want to have a business out. You know what I mean? What do you have to lose? And I will say this, if you want those things to actually happen, to your point, they got to be a practice. People have to adhere to them. And eventually it's like anything. The more you practice it, the more it becomes reality, right? Yeah. And I do that in my personal life, man. I have my own personal core values. I read them every morning. I set a core value goal every day for myself. And it's like, I'm either hitting it or I'm not. Me and my kids, we talk about the family core values. We got 6 of them. We talk about them every day because I want them to understand that this is not about business. It's about life. Yeah. I'm a core value driven person. My business just happens to be one way I represent that. And it should be for everyone else. I think that this is the next level in living. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. Like I believe what you believe, and I'm so bought in, and I've seen the transformation in my life, in my business, in our community as well, through living and breathing it. And it's not something that you just like, oh yeah, like we've reached that point now, like next. It's like, no, like core values is something that we're doing every single day. How can we do them better? How can we strengthen it? How can we really get them to, our tribe, our team to understand these from different perspectives? Question here from Tom. If you're loving this conversation, please hit the like button. Let us know you're there. Now's your last chance to kind of put in any questions you've got before we look to start to wrap things up in the next 5 to 10. Tim from Perth. It used to be that workers from a lot of small to medium businesses felt drawn to work in the cities. Do you think that this pandemic might have altered this approach to work? As far as like work from home? Yeah, I mean, I think that, well, look, I think it's early in the game for everyone's funny. They go, I didn't tell you this also. When we grew from 30 to 300, 275 of those people were remote. So I built a work from home environment in 2013. Yeah. And what I learned was really interesting. I think that 1/3 of people are really good at working from home. And I think that 2/3 are a varying degree of terrible to okay. And so what we start to take for granted is the rubbing of elbows and shoulders, the hugs, the connection, the oxytocin in the room, the vibe in the room. And so I think that as much as people are okay with it because they're forced in this situation now, I think there will be blowback. And people are going to say, I want to go into the environment because I want to feel like I'm a part of something. And this is okay doing this over Zoom. But I'll tell you what, brother, I wish I was where you are, where I was, so you and I go grab a beer after this. Yeah, absolutely. But we as humans are social beings. We want that. So I do think that, yes, that jobs will be more accepting of it, but I actually think there's going to be a pretty big blowback. because
Yeah.
we're going to see that this is hard and people are not as productive, and it dilutes the business and dilutes the culture. It dilutes the effectiveness of the organization. And I think that there's a place for it, there's a time for it, but I don't think it's the end all be all.
Yeah. And look, it might even merge as a hybrid where there's an aspect of, work from home and connections and social gatherings, because as human beings, we are creatures of connection, and we thrive. And I don't know about you, but man, I missed hugs during the pandemic,
Yeah.
Holy shit.
We still have the pandemic. I think you guys are almost out of the woods, right?
Well, where I'm in Perth, like we're pretty sweet. Like our state's opened back up. We're pretty free to do everything. Yeah. But I believe Melbourne, Eastern States, has just gone back down to 6 weeks lockdown. They came out and gone back down. So we're not through the other side yet. So mate, share with us your book. Like you've just spent the last couple of years putting together your book. I'd love you to just kind of share a bit about your book, what it's called, what's included, what's inside, and when someone can get their hands on it as well.
Yeah, so this is a galley copy, so this is a promo copy, but it's called the Core Value Equation. And really what it looks at is when core values, we as business owners, even as humans and people, we have the opportunity to make core values the language of our organizations. And when that happens, three things happen. Number one, you have the ultimate decision-making tool for your business and for your life, right? But let's just use it for the business. You get the ultimate decision-making engine that answers any question, no matter how easy and how hard. Number two, it creates invisible scale. You can have a conversation like I had this, and I went from 30 to 300 with zero growing pains. And last but not least, it attracts an army of like-minded individuals that want to be a part of something greater than themselves. So the way the book explains it is it's a framework. And I believe that everything starts, this is the foundation of everything we do, because it's the behavior, the vision and mission, or where you're going and how you're going to get there, like why you want to go there. The values are how you're going to get there. So it's every day it's happening. Whereas, the mission's why we want to do that. And the vision is where we're going, but the values, they're active all the time. They're always activated. So the book really what it does is it takes you from discovery, which is a well-worn path, discovery all the way through to what I really dive deep into is I say, look, this is a book about design. How do you design them to be viral and sticky in the organization with high utility value? And once you do that, then it goes from rollout to implementation to measurement, and it becomes this circle where it gets highly optimized. So think of it like the full productization. I say this is the iPhone of core values. You can buy a crappy cell phone, you can buy the iPhone, but this is the iPhone of core values.
Yeah.
So,
I love that. Yeah, I love that. Now, it's not due to come out until mid-September, yeah?
Yeah. So the pre-sale, I think, is going to open up in the next week. I'm just getting it all set up to the publisher. But September 15th is when it goes public. We got Tony Shea from Zappos back the book a couple weeks ago. He did endorse the book, give a written endorsement. Chip Conley from Peak, he did. We got a great write-up in Kirkus. So the book's getting a lot of buzz. We've pre-sold about 4,000 copies to about 60 companies. So I'm pretty pumped right now, man. This is really fun.
I love that. Can we do something? I haven't pre-asked you. I'm going to ask you live anyway. Put a bit of pressure on. Can we give a copy of your book away? Like if whoever's watching this today, either live or on the replay, if you guys can share this episode out, start a watch party, take a screenshot of it on your feed and send it through to my team. They'll put a link below or send it through to me on Facebook. And we'll pick one person over the next week that we can send a copy of the book to. How's that sound? Yeah, and I'll also send through a pre-release copy of my book as well. So all you need to do is share this on your feed, start a watch party, take a screenshot, send it through to my team or for me on Facebook, and organise getting you a copy of Darius's my book sent out to you ahead of anyone else seeing it. That'd be amazing. Dude, I can't wait to read your book. I might have a quick read before I send the copy out. Also too, as we shared before, it is, I think, important right now to be looking to build businesses that can work without you. And I'd love you to obviously get a copy of my book as well. We're looking to start pre-releases on this Sunday, July the 12th as well. If you want to start to date with these live series and the amazing guests we're having on board like today, we'll put a link below, sign up. We'll let you know when the live stream's on. Also let you know we can get a copy of my book along with a bunch of bonuses that we're releasing this Sunday. Mate, I like to always kind of finish these episodes by asking one particular question. And that is that if you were to have a conversation right now with a 10-year-old version of yourself, knowing what you know and having gone through what you've gone through, what advice would you give him?
Wow. I would say trust your instincts, follow your heart, and, don't believe the naysayers.
Love that. Trust your instinct, follow your heart, don't believe the naysayers. Love that. Mate, I'm so grateful to have you on today. I've really thoroughly enjoyed a conversation. I just love, it's funny, like these episodes, people will talk about things we've had on previous guests and they haven't been pre-organized. It's been completely sporadic, but you touching on Vern's methodology, scaling up, us having on board the live stream yesterday with Keith Miller, who's a scaling up coach. It's just funny how the universe conspires to help us all the time. Thank you so much for each and every one of you guys supporting us or reading the book or sharing our stuff out across socials. We'll really appreciate that. Thanks for watching, and look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thanks, Darius. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Game Changers podcast. There's a couple of things I'd love you to do to help us and help yourself to spread the message further. Make sure that you like the Game Changers on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn. Please subscribe by clicking the link below to ensure that you keep up to date with the weekly episodes we share here at the Game Changers podcast with amazing entrepreneurs and business owners around the world. And of course, like if you're in a position where you may be overwhelmed with business or looking for a way to grow faster, more effectively, and you realize that the key to success is being surrounded by amazing people who have been there and done that before, I'd like to invite you to apply to have a game plan session one-on-one with one of my team here at the Game Changers. There's no cost if you get through. All that we ask is that you are doing a minimum of $250,000 per year to really be able to utilize the strategies and the tactics and the mindset shifts that we share with you, that you're coachable, that you're a decent person, and you're willing to take on board some advice. If not, that's totally cool. But I know for me, I wouldn't be where I am right now without the support of so many mentors and coaches and resources along the way. And I'd like to pay that forward and give back to you the opportunity to work with us one-on-one for free to put together a customized game plan. And the reason we're doing this is a couple of things. Number one is that sometimes it's just the smallest thing that can make the biggest difference. And I think that entrepreneurs and business owners have the opportunity to change the world. And if we can maybe help you to make the smallest shift to change your life and your world, you're changing ours in return. The second thing is that we are always looking for amazing clients to work with and to welcome into and invite into the Game Changers community. And so if at the end of the call, you do feel that there's a huge amount of value there, that we feel that there's a great values fit there, we can have a conversation about working together. But this game plan call, there's absolutely no obligations to work with whatsoever. Allow us to help you with the years and years and years of knowledge that we have in growing and scaling great companies. And I think that business owners are the future of the world. If there's a way that we can help you to create a better business, more profit, more fulfillment, more fun, I would love the opportunity to do that now. So click the link below, book your game plan session, make sure you follow us on social, and start to date with the latest episodes of the Game Changers podcast. My name's Barry William Maglidi. Thank you so much for your support and look forward to seeing you next one. Bye for now.